You know, I never knew that a simple discovery could change my life and the lives of many others. But nor did I know that cycling and bicycling could help solve even the world's problems. How could that be? It just didn't make any sense because I never knew that cycling had the capability of solving world problems. Just like in road cycling, many times they say that professional cyclists, those who suffer the most, win the race. And that race is won oftentimes by the individual who suffers the most. Well, I come to discover that Marshall Major Taylor suffered in his race and for his race of people as a Black man in cycling. And he became the world first Black world champion cyclist as a Black man in the early 1900s, a feat that is still somewhat unknown by many today. But because he was Black, you know, he suffered a great deal of racism, particularly in America. Oftentimes, you know, he would be assaulted or brutally beaten after winning a race by his fellow cyclists. So to save his life, his manager decided that he needed to move him to Europe, where there he won many cycling races and became the first Black cyclist world champion, even during Jim Crow. This was something that was a solution to the problem of racism for Major Taylor, simply to move him to Europe. And in that process, he became the first Black world champion cyclist, even during Jim Crow. Why was this significant? Well, because most of the time during his races, he was understood to be someone that had principles and character. And he did more than just peddle his way into history. From the standpoint of working with people who didn't know about him to becoming world champion, he became known as someone with class, dignity, and the ability to win a lot of races. But no one knew about him until this guy, George Harper, here in Columbus, Ohio, was in a local bike shop and saw an article about a world champion cyclist who was Black. No way, no way. How could this be? Well, for George's passion for cycling, he decided to come back and start a Major Taylor cycling club right here in Columbus that is comprised of 7 members. And to this day, since 1979, of the 7, 6 are still riding, or as we say, rolling, and many of us are in the ages of 60 and 70 years of age. So what was the problem? Well, the problem was nobody knew about Major Taylor. What was the solution? To start a Major Taylor cycling club. And to this day, the club has been recognized as the first African-American cycling club in the United States named after Major Taylor, which led to over 30 other clubs across the United States and one in Jamaica to be named after Major Taylor. To his credit, in all of our clubs, we have people from all races, all walks of life to show that we can end racism through cycling. The other thing, there were a lot of people who weren't cyclists that didn't know anything about Major Taylor. So we created a plaque and placed it at the beginning of the Three Creeks bike trail here in Columbus to show and demonstrate the history of Major Taylor as the first Black world champion cyclist. We also were able to convince the city to allow us to put in a portion of the trail named after Major Taylor. From this, in many other major cities, there are now Major Taylor cycling trails in cities, particularly a larger one located in Chicago, Illinois. Well, we also felt that we need to solve another problem. So the solution was to get youth involved in cycling. There, we were able to increase the number of kids here in Columbus and across the country who wanted to be involved in cycling. So we got them into cycling, teaching them about repairs and safety tips. We also discovered that there were many rural communities that didn't have bicycles. So we created a fund to give bicycles to youth in rural communities so that they could learn about cycling, Major Taylor, And cycling as another means of commuting to the store and to school. Now, some people say that, like, well, you guys are obsessed with cycling. I've never seen that to be the case, because just because we have more than one bike doesn't mean that we're obsessed. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life, so they can go. But we do enjoy the passion of cycling. And so for that, we realize that cycling can also, for many cities, be a way of commuting to work, to school, to play, increasing healthy activities. We even have people who have joined our club that have had health problems and have overcome them through cycling. Some have come with depression, have overcome that as well. But the camaraderie is most important. The main thing to remember about this is that there is a guy who, through all the adversity that he faced in the early 1900s, named Marshall Major Taylor, who became a world champion cyclist, that solved the solution of racism for his race and for himself through cycling, which led to a club here in Columbus, Ohio, that is now known throughout the country as the first Major Taylor Cycling Club in his honor. And we will continue to ride in Major Taylor's honor as long as we can turn the pedal, because we've also discovered that cycling is more than just pedaling. Thank you very much.